Okay, so I've got my my constraints set out. I've established the boundary in plan and then the levels, obviously in elevation. Got the site set out as well. So now I'm going to start setting out some of the physical things that we have, particularly the walls, using these dimensions here. So we've got, actually, so we've got the walls at the front, probably a good place to start, and we've got a dimension from the front boundary. So that's called a setback, and it's always good to put the setbacks in also with reference planes before trying to use the wall tool. So here again, just using reference plane again, and I'm going to draw a reference plane going across the front part of the site, like so, and then I'll change that dimension afterwards to 3050. And then on the other side, again, drawing another reference plane to set out the dimension from the back. And this time it will be 2760. And then coming across the other way, this doesn't need to be the full length of the site really, but yeah, so I'll just take it to cross over this reference plane. It's up to you really, but it doesn't need to be the full length. And so for this I need to add together those measurements, which will give me 750. And then the final one isn't really a setback, but I'm going to put it in with a reference plane anyway. Coming across here, and this is, what is it? 1215 plus 500, so 1715, which should leave me with 1285. Yep, 1285. So that's right. Now, obviously, I could draw the walls that I'm about to draw without having put these reference planes in. But it usually will make it easier if you put reference planes in, at least for the exterior faces of your walls. You don't get into the habit of putting reference planes in for all of the walls, but it definitely will help with things like this. So next, I'm going to go and use the wall tool. And I'm going to start with one of the generic walls. So just generic 200mm wall. And then I'm going to go to Edit Type and Duplicate. And I'm going to call this Existing 250mm wall. Now, just out of interest, if you see a dimension like that for an existing wall, what sort of wall do you think it'd be? Just thinking about your knowledge of construction. Yeah, it's brick. So what sort of brick construction do you think that might be? What are the options? It could be cavity, but if that was going to be cavity, if we've got 110mm of brick and then 110 again for the other side, so 2 times 110 is 220, that only leaves us 30mm. And if this is rendered both sides, that means it's 240, which leaves us 10mm, which is mortar again. So that tells you already what sort of wall it is. So it must be solid brickwork. Okay, so it's 230, that's solid brickwork, plus 10mm of mortar each side. So hopefully as you start to see these dimensions, you'll recognise what sort of construction it is. So here, I've named it Existing 250mm wall, and then I'm going to click Edit, of course, here, to change the thickness, of course, to 250. OK. And then I'm simply going to change this core scale fill colour from grey to black. And OK. And then before I start drawing my walls, I'm going to change the height there to parapet. and then the location line to finished face exterior. Okay, so now I'll start drawing on this line here, on this intersection point. Then I'll come over to the right and just snap to those intersection points where I have them. Now notice I started on the site floor plan, and that's why my walls aren't showing black, they're just showing as white or filled in with nothing. That's absolutely fine. If I go now to lower floor, notice they are filled in. So it's just on that site floor plan that they're not. And in any case, if you want to draw them on one of the other floor plans, the best option is ground line, not lower floor. Okay, the reason is that if we look in the elevation, we want the walls to go all the way down to the ground. Right, the floor level is a little bit above that. So when we make the floors, we'll make them on these different floor levels. But the outer walls need to be on ground line. So you might remember before I said that the site floor plan is associated with that first level. Right, the one that was called ground floor before, and now it's called ground line. So if we draw in the site view, the walls will start from that level. You can see here base constraint is ground line. So you can draw these in site or in ground line. So I've drawn those two outer walls, and now I want to show you how to draw the wall coming down this way, just to give you a better idea how the location line works. So I'm going to start on that same start point, but this time I want to come down. And you can see here that the wall, it'll go down, but it's going the wrong way. So you got any idea why it's going to the wrong side? Yeah, it's finished, but I want it to be finished face exterior, because remember that reference plane is where the outside face or my exterior face should be. So I want to be drawing over that reference plane, and it's putting the edge of my wall.
Because
you can, yeah. 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 Well, the reason is because I'm drawing anti-clockwise. So if you draw clockwise, it goes inside. If you draw anti-clockwise, generally it goes outside. Now that's different to exterior and interior. So it's drawing, again, with the exterior face of my wall. In other words, the reference plane that I'm tracing over is where the exterior face will be. But we can see the wall's going to the wrong side of that reference plane. So what do? I think you're saying, flip it. Spacebar. So you can flip as you draw at any stage. But don't just use that in place of this. You need to still think about which way or which side of the wall the location line needs to be set to. That's your first decision. Are you working with internal measurements or external measurements? And then, as necessary, you can flip the wall to go onto the side you need it to. Okay, so that's fine. Now, to do the next one, I might put in a reference plane as well, and there, actually, I was a bit slack. I left the dimension off. So, if anyone's got a scale ruler, you can scale off, or, yeah, you've got one, that's great. Okay, so this should be 1 to 50. Okay. And it should be a round number, so, yeah, 750 or 800. I can't decide. Let's say 800. Oh, no, it's fine. Thanks. Okay, so yeah, so I'll make it 800. I should have put that on the drawing, but I didn't. So you can either copy the reference plane or draw a new one, it's up to you, but I'll copy it across 800. There we are. And then the other one, I gave you dimension, but I didn't draw a reference plane for that either. So it's 6150 if you use the dimensions here. So with this measurement here, and then adding 250 times 2 gives you 6150. So I'll draw another reference plane for that. Okay, so there we are. So now I'll go and draw another wall starting from this corner point, and I can just space to flip as I go and trace these reference planes back to that corner. And then to finish it off, I can just extend that wall now through the middle. So there we are. So that should be basically the same as what you can see there, except that this garden wall at the back now can be added just by tracing over the property line. So again, with the same wall, using the wall tool. This time I'm going to change the height option there to unconnected. Now, has anyone been around the back to have a look at this? It's pretty hard to see. It's so overgrown, you'll struggle to even see the building. But you'll see the fence, and then you might have noticed, if you've been there, that it's just a timber paling fence. But I think it's easier if we just make it a solid fence for now. So I'm just going to use the same wall type. And I'm going to set the height there, set it to unconnected, and then type in 2000. Which is actually quite a high fence. And then again, just clicking onto this corner point now. Now I can trace it around. And you can see that it's come in solid. But if I go to some of these other floor plans, you can see now that it doesn't look solid anymore, because the cut plane in those views is high enough to be above that fence. And that's a good setup, because we've done it in the ground line floor plan, which is down here, but we'll most likely use the lower floor plan, obviously, as the floor plan for that level. So in that view, it's already set up. Okay, so then finally I'll check the 3D view, and we can see we've got the basic shell of the building done without too much trouble. So I'll give you a little while to try that, and then we can have a look at doing the other existing things on the facade.